They thought she was just a tired woman pouring drinks in a dusty roadside bar. But that night when a pack of bikers pushed her too far, they ripped open a past she had tried to bury, one written in scars and fire, and in a tattoo no one in that room would ever forget. It started like any other Friday at Carter's Saloon, tucked along a lonely stretch of highway outside of Denver. Folks came for cheap beer, greasy fries, and Naomi Johnson, the black woman behind the bar, who always remembered your drink and never let your glass go empty. She moved quietly, almost invisible, the way people who've been through too much often do. She'd been working there 3 years, never raised her voice, never told stories about herself. To most regulars, she was just Naomi, the bartender, nothing more. But under the dim light of neon signs, she carried herself with a kind of stillness, like a lake you shouldn't mistake for shallow. That night, the air turned heavy before the trouble even walked in. The doors swung open and a biker gang rolled through like they owned the place. Denim vests, loud boots, the smell of gasoline and smoke trailing behind them. At the center was their leader, a broad-shouldered man with a sneer carved into his face. Folks called him Vance, and he had a reputation for breaking things, sometimes bottles, sometimes people. Naomi felt it the moment they walked in. She stiffened, but didn't flinch. She kept pouring drinks, letting her hands do the work. But Vance spotted her. He leaned over the bar, his voice dripping mockery. Well, look what we got here. Didn't know they let just anybody sling drinks out here. What's your name, sweetheart? Naomi didn't look up. Orders a drink, not my name. The room went still. A few heads turned. Everyone knew you didn't talk back to Vance. He liked to be feared. He hated being ignored. He slammed his fist on the counter, making the glasses rattle. I said, what's your name? Naomi's eyes finally met his. Calm, flat, unshaken. The name's Naomi. You gonna order, or you just here to waste everyone's time? Gasps rippled through the room. Vance's smirk twisted into something darker. He didn't like women with backbone, especially not black women who refused to play small. That's a pretty mouth you got, he said, leaning closer. Wonder how loud it gets when you scream. The words slithered across the bar and Naomi's stomach turned. But she didn't back up, didn't give him the satisfaction of fear. She just reached for the rag in her pocket, wiped the counter, and moved down to serve another customer. That's when it happened. Vance grabbed her wrist. The room tensed. And with a laugh that chilled the air, he yanked at her shirt, ripping the fabric down the side. Gasps filled the saloon. Naomi froze, her breath sharp in her chest. The gang erupted in laughter, thinking they'd stripped her down to humiliation. But the laughter died quick. Because there across her shoulder and down her arm, inked deep into her skin, was a tattoo, a coiled serpent, wrapped around a dagger crowned with the insignia of the 75th Ranger Regiment. Silence fell like a hammer. Vance's smirk faltered. One of his boys whispered, Jesus Christ, that's an Army Ranger mark. Naomi's voice cut through the air, low and steady. Yeah, that's right. I served 3 tours, 2 continents. I've buried more men than you've ever scared, Vance. And if you lay one more finger on me, she leaned closer, her eyes burning into his. You'll be next. The bar was frozen, no jukebox, no chatter. Just the sound of heavy breathing and the weight of truth. Vance tried to chuckle, tried to puff his chest, but his hand trembled as he pulled back. You think you can scare me with some tattoo? He barked, though his voice cracked. You're just a washed-up vet pouring drinks. Naomi leaned across the bar, her words sharp as broken glass. That tattoo doesn't scare you, Vance, but the stories behind it should. Do you want me to tell this room what it means when you wear the serpent dagger? It means I've been through hell and I came back. Alive. Stronger. And I didn't come back just to let some punk biker try to break me. Every eye in the bar was on her. The gang shifted uneasily. Even the locals who'd always seen Naomi as quiet and visible were now staring at her like they'd never really looked before. Vance tried one last move. He stood tall, reaching for his belt buckle, flashing the knife on his hip. You don't scare me, Naomi. Not you, not your little war stories. This is my bar now. Naomi didn't blink. She stepped out from behind the counter, standing in the center of the floor, her ripped shirt hanging loose, but her posture unshaken. She spoke clear, loud enough for everyone to hear. No, Vance. This isn't your bar. This is my ground, my people. And if you want to test me, she pointed at the tattoo, her voice like thunder. You better remember Rangers lead the way. And I don't need backup to put you on the floor. The room exploded not in chaos, but in a shift. Chairs scraped back. Locals who'd stayed quiet for years suddenly stood taller. One old man grabbed a pool cue ready. A young couple near the jukebox moved to block the door. The bar was no longer Vance's playground. Naomi had lit something in them, something fierce, something that refused to bow. Vance's face drained of color. His gang glanced at each other uncertain. For the first time they saw him not as untouchable, but as small exposed. He muttered something under his breath, shoved his way toward the door and barked, "Let's go. This dump ain't worth it." The gang followed their boots heavy on the floor, their silence louder than any threat. When the door swung shut, the bar erupted in applause. Naomi stood there, breathing steady, eyes still hard. She hadn't just defended herself, she claimed her power back in front of everyone. Later, as she cleaned the shattered glass and pulled on a jacket to cover her torn shirt, a woman approached her. "Naomi, I had no idea. Why didn't you ever tell us?" Naomi gave a tired smile. "Because people don't look at you the same once they know. They see the uniform, not the person. Sometimes it's easier just being the bartender." The woman shook her head. "No. Tonight we saw you, the real you." And for the first time in years, Naomi felt that maybe she wasn't invisible anymore. Now here's the thing, people watching that night argued about it for weeks. Some said Naomi should have pressed charges, dragged Vance and his gang into court. Others said what she did standing tall, reclaiming her power, was justice enough. And some whispered that Vance never came back because he was too scared to face the truth that a woman he thought powerless had made him small in front of everyone. So I'll leave it with you. What do you think? Was Naomi right to handle it the way she did, to meet humiliation with strength instead of calling the law? Or should men like Vance always be dragged into the light no matter what it takes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this aren't just about bars and bikers. They're about dignity, about justice, and about what we do when power tries to break us.